Welcome to Myths, Monsters, and Mullets. You can join and even be a guest on the live every Sunday and Monday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on TikTok by following the link in the description. If you're not on TikTok, but have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share, you can contact me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. In tonight's episode, Summer joins with tales of a haunted house, haunted bars, and much more. It's all coming up after this brief message.
Hello, I am Lafayette Faust, host of the Nevermore Hollows podcast. If you're a fan of horror stories, you will love Nevermore Hollows. It's a collection of stories about a creepy town filled with quirky characters and horrifying monsters. If you're not sure where to begin, let me suggest the episode titled Psycho Juju. I guarantee it's like no horror story you've ever heard. So, I invite you to sit back, turn on a light, and prepare yourself as you listen to us on your favorite podcast platform.
My beautiful wife has just entered the room. She will be, if we have somebody in the box, what we're going to do is I'm going to focus on them. And Laura says hi. Summer's in here. Summer, are you ready to jump in the box and tell your stories? I know you have them from Louisiana. All right. No, wrong person. Sent you an invite there, Summer. Let's see if we can expand you out here.
Hey there.
Oh, you just going to do audio? You want to do video?
I can do both. It don't matter. How you going?
There you are.
Hey. Hi, everybody. Yep, Louisiana. We got some crazy stories. I was excited that I caught you on here because I was like, yeah, he's going to put me in the box and he's finally going to let me tell the stories that I've been waiting to tell.
Yes, I've been excited to hear them. For those who weren't in the live last week, we found out that at one time we were basically neighbors. I lived in Louisiana for a short time, very short time, because I'm fat and I can't handle the heat.
Yeah.
But as everybody knows, Louisiana is kind of known for paranormal. So you want to go into your stories?
Sure. I got a few. I've been thinking I'm going to share one with you that's the most recent, which happened in like the last year or so. So my aunt, her mother had a house in Donaldsonville, and the house had set up for some time because her mom had to go into like a nursing home or something, you know, and her dad had already passed, and when her mom passed, she asked me, because I do cleaning, you know, I have a company that does all that, to come out there and do a clean for her. I was like, okay, yeah, I'll come. The house was beautiful. Okay, it's one of the older houses. They had newly renovated it, but like the same fireplace was in there. You know, the old speakers that they used to have in the walls, and they could talk through it, and like everybody, so they still had that. But something always felt off to me whenever I went over there. I didn't ever want to be alone there. I just had like a feeling like somebody was hovering, you know. So I always had like my husband there with me. But even with everyone being there, you still felt it if you were off into the back part of the house before you were, and, you know, even around everyone. So my aunt finally one day, she took some time while we were over there, because this house had been sitting up for a long time. They were just trying to get it sold, doing some remodeling on it, updating it. And I was there and she was there, and we were able to sit and talk. And I told her about how I felt about something being there. And she said, "Oh, yes, honey, there is. There absolutely is." I said, "Oh, really?" I said, "Because I could feel it." And she said, "Oh, yeah, that's my mom. That's my mom. She's been coming to me in my dreams also, and she's telling me that I need to watch out for people." And I said, "Oh, really?" Well, it was so strange because when I left the house that day, I had all the lights turned off. Everything was turned off. The next day, I get a phone call from my aunt, and she's like, "Summer, did you leave this back light on?" And I was like, "No, I turned everything off." And so that was that. And when we were there and we started talking about it, all the lights just started just like coming on and off. And so my aunt hired an electrician to come out there, and the electrician actually stayed the night there because Donaldsonville. So Donaldsonville from me to there is probably a good 45 minutes to an hour. You got to go over the old Sunshine Bridge and all that. And Donaldsonville was one of the first cities that Louisiana had in the South. Um, and so, yes, that house was extremely haunted. One time when we were younger, I want to say it was Denham Springs. You're probably familiar with Denham Springs, the downtown Denham part. There was an old bar out there that has a basement that kind of goes down where they store, liquors and stuff like that. My dad was actually pushed down them stairs by nothing. And he said when he landed at the bottom of the stairs, it felt like he had landed on like a pillow or something, like it didn't hurt. So we quickly found out that that bar was haunted as well. When I worked in New Orleans, I was a shot girl on Bourbon Street in my younger years. And if you know anything about New Orleans, it's like the quarter. You've got, it's like one block, two blocks. It's all like super tight together. And the houses, the way they're built, there's just a small front entrance. And then when you go through the house, it's like a small house. And then there's a huge courtyard in the back. And that's where like the slave quarters were, and where they would house, their carriages and stuff like that. Well, one of the clubs that I was at, there was a carriage house in the back of it, and there was a little girl that haunted that premises. There was a swing in the carriage house that they were never able to take down because every time they would take it down, the swing would go right back up. And it's been multiple times and multiple scenes, people seeing that the swing would just start swinging out of nowhere. And so, yeah, that's three of them.
So I'm going to stop you for just a minute. On that first one in the house that you were cleaning,
Yeah.
did somebody died? Was that your grandmother or whoever that died in the house?
That was my aunt's mom.
And she died in the house?
No, but her spirit was there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And she thinks her dad's spirit was there too because just little things like with the tools being moved around and stuff like that her dad would do, it was the same thing with the tools. I think the biggest for me, because I didn't actually see a spirit, I felt it. It was definitely there.
Okay. And then back to that, you talked about that swing. So it would just appear back up there, or they had to put it back up to keep the activity down?
I'm not really 100% sure. I just was told that they've tried to remove the swing several times, and every time that they removed it, it would go back up. And I did, which creeped me out one day, get a glimpse of the swing moving by itself.
Oh wow. Yeah, that would freak me out too.
Yeah, but there's so many more like stories. There are houses. Actually a house in New Orleans that was owned by a doctor who owned a ton of slaves, and her primary reason for having them was to torture them. She would dismember them and like sew them up crazy into like crab figures and just different things. And that house is still there. It was actually just sold because Nicolas Cage had bought it,
Yeah,
and it just sold again.
yeah. I think I saw something because they were talking about what was the movie he did where he was Dracula?
Um, I don't know. There's been a lot of movies here that there's been a lot of
But
movies here made.
yeah, they it just came out. It was more about his underling or whatever. What the heck was that called? But I saw an interview where he talked about the house and it being haunted and they something about body parts found in there or like bones found in that house.
I'd have to know the name of the movie. There's been so many that have been filmed down here because just even the history, like you can just look at the history and see that it's haunted. Like they have the graveyards are shut off at a certain time every day because they can't be buried underground. They have to have monuments because of the flooding, because of all that stuff. So you can go in there and you can feel it, like it's there. You can go to the monuments. They even have tours down here that people can take and go see all the haunted stuff, and um, it's really fun. It's really fun, and because you're learning history too, and just like in Saint Bernard Parish, there's a battlefield out there that Spain and New Orleans were fighting against each other, and there was a peace treaty that was signed 3 years before their war ended. And so that ground is significantly haunted as well. There have been people who have actually spotted and seen troops from back in the day. So we got all kinds of stuff here. It's crazy here. It's crazy the
Yeah.
history, and man, yeah, it's a lot. My sister-in-law, I wanted to get her on here because she actually lived in a house in Baker that was haunted, and she has stories that she told me, but I kind of wanted her to tell you her stories because the way she tells them will make your hair raise.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Have her come on. I'm going to be on from 9 tonight, and then I'm going to do it again tomorrow from 7 to 9 Eastern time. So
Okay, yeah, yeah. That's some of what I got, but it's changing all the time. There's Louisiana is just it's that type of place. I mean,
it's a very old place. Like,
yeah,
there's a lot of old history there.
a lot of old history, and there's also been more spottings in New Orleans because I'm not sure if everyone knew this or not, but New Orleans was building a Hard Rock Cafe. Do you remember any of that? Do you remember?
No.
So just recently, probably within the last 5 years, there was an old building that they were remodeling in New Orleans. It's off of Canal Street, but they were building a Hard Rock Cafe. And in the midst of building the Hard Rock Cafe, it collapsed. And there were 8 people that were left in that building that nobody could recover. They were never able to, retrieve their bodies or anything either because the way that the building was, that whoever went to go get them would lose their life also, because there was no rescue for that. You couldn't. They ultimately ended up just having to demolish it. And that was an ongoing thing too, because the building right next to it was a historical building. And so, the historians all went so it took forever for them to even be able to demolish it. So the whole time, these people's bodies they're just laying there. You can see them and nobody can get to them. It's crazy.
After you started describing that, I think I do remember hearing that, but yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Yeah, all kinds of crazy stuff happens in New Orleans. New Orleans is definitely different from Baton Rouge. We're a big city still, and we still have a lot of traffic, and we still have, we still have our crime, and it's kind of bad here too. And since Katrina, it's gotten worse, so it's natural for it, because the devastation and all the catastrophes that have happened here. I mean, there's something in the water.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, have you said it was your sister or sister-in-law?
She's actually my ex-sister-in-law, but we've known each other 20 years and we're still friends, so we call each other sisters.
Yeah, have her follow me, and I'll follow her back, and we can get her in here to tell her stories.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Not a problem. Have a good evening.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. See, it's not that hard. I'd like to thank Summer for coming in. First guest of the night, the weekend, whatever you want to